Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us on The Full View. Now, the National Prosecuting Authority has confirmed plans to provisionally withdraw corruption charges against former President Jacob Zuma's son, Duduzane. Now, the NPA says it has sent a formal letter to Zuma's lawyers before his appearance at the Specialised Commercial Crimes Court tomorrow. Now, Zuma was charged with corruption last year. The charges relate to allegations that Zuma was present when members of the Gupta family tried to bribe then Deputy Finance Minister SABC in October 2015. The NPA says more information will be given to the public via the media tomorrow after those court proceedings. So for more on that now, we're joined by criminal law expert Ulrich Roux, who's on Skype. Ulrich, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Well, was this a well-thought-out decision by the National Prosecuting Authority? Of course, what we do know at this stage is this relates to the fact that the former Deputy Finance Minister, SABC Jonas's testimony is not yet over. He's yet to be cross-examined.
Hi, good evening, Griselda. Yes, we must remember that the NPA can only proceed with criminal charges against an accused if there is a reasonable foreseeability of a successful prosecution. Now, in this instance, one can only draw the conclusion that the NPA has decided that pending the finalization of the cross-examination of ex-Minister SABC Jonas pertaining to exactly these charges, it would be premature to proceed to trial in this matter. So, in my opinion, I think that it has been a well-thought-through decision made by the NPA because of the fact that the cross-examination during state capture inquiry of SABC Jonas could very well bolster the state's case. But if it does not, then the NPA have a duty to withdraw the charges should there not be a reasonable foreseeability of a successful prosecution. And I think that we must remember at all times that the NPA is not there to persecute people and to fabricate evidence and to try and bolster and absolutely build a case at all costs. They are there to prosecute a person if there is sufficient evidence to do so, and only if they have a reasonable foreseeability of a successful prosecution.
So, Ulrich, are we likely to see a decision from the National Prosecuting Authority on whether it will continue this prosecution after the testimony or the cross-examination of SABC Jonas? Because you must recall, of course, he was the one who brought up the name of Duduzane Zuma in allegations of bribery.
Yes, just remember that the NPA and the Hawks have come out and they've said that pending the finalization of the state capture inquiry, they will be they will hold in abeyance all criminal charges. So they will not be proceeding with criminal charges against any of the people implicated in state capture, including the Gupta family and all the other people associated with it. So in light of that, one could only expect them to evaluate all of the evidence at the end of the state capture inquiry and then make an informed decision. And if they have sufficient evidence to then prosecute suspects, then they should do so. But pending the finalization of this inquiry, I don't think we should expect too much.
Well, but look, as of tomorrow, once these charges against Duduzane Zuma will be provisionally withdrawn, this means basically that no one is on trial for any of the issues relating to state capture. What does this mean for the state capture debacle? Because remember, just last year, you had the charges withdrawn provisionally against members of the Gupta family. And that was pertaining, of course, to the Estina dairy farm debacle. So what does this mean at this stage, or would it be wise for the National Prosecuting Authority to wait until the entire process itself is concluded?
Yes, once again, remember that the entire community and the entire South Africa is eager to see results from the state capture inquiry and obviously to see people being brought to book if they did commit crimes and if those crimes can be proven. But, the fact that charges are provisionally withdrawn against a person does not mean that that's the end of the matter. It purely means that the NPA at this stage cannot proceed with criminal charges, but they are at liberty should sufficient evidence later come into play to reinstitute those charges and then to charge those people criminally. So obviously there's going to be disappointment, amongst people who want to see prosecutions taking place in this matter. But in the same breath, we cannot simply prosecute people if there's not sufficient evidence to do so. We in the industry see many cases that are botched as a result of rushed investigations, as a result of the police not being afforded a proper opportunity to investigate matters and to properly build evidence against the accused. And one would expect the NPA to rather do that and for the police to rather gather as much evidence as they can in order to properly prosecute a person if there is sufficient evidence.
But Ulrich, one could perhaps argue that this might be egg on the face of the National Prosecuting Authority. We know the allegations that are facing the credibility of the NPA at this stage, and why then continue or institute these charges against Mr. Zuma to begin with? And then now, when you have this massive inquiry into allegations of state capture in South Africa, you decide to provisionally withdraw them, waiting for something that could perhaps strengthen or even weaken your case.
Yes, remember that at the time we are not certain what evidence the NPA had in their possession, but it could have come to light, subsequent to the charging of Duduzane Zuma that other evidence exonerated him at this stage. But that is why the NPA has afforded that opportunity to provisionally withdraw and then for charges to be reinstituted later. It happens quite often in the criminal justice system in South Africa. I don't think that one can see it as egg being on the face of the NPA. There's been a change of guard at the NPA, as we all know, and one would expect them to do their job properly. And once again, they do their job properly if they prosecute a person based on sufficient evidence and based on the fact that there's a reasonable foreseeability of a successful prosecution. If there's not, then they can't prosecute a person. So one would, once again, a lot is going to be read into the fact that they are withdrawing the charges tomorrow, but it's not a final decision, and one would have to wait and see what further evidence comes out during the state capture inquiry and whether that then bolsters the state's case or not.
Ulrich, I think let's just move to another matter now. You're also spokesperson for one of your other clients as well, Mr. Morty, who was in a German jail for about 5 months. Mr. Zenedine Morty, a businessman who was detained in Germany. Can you just confirm that for us, first of all, and talk to us a bit about what you believe all of that detention had centered around, given that he's now been released and is back in South Africa?
Yes, Mr. Morty was released on Friday from the Starline prison in Munich. He was released subsequent to the criminal charges which were leveled against him in Russia and a warrant of arrest which was issued for him out of Russia and subsequently elevated to an Interpol diffusion notice, and that all being cancelled and the German authorities accordingly releasing him. From the outset, Mr. Morty has stated clearly that these were trumped-up charges and that they were leveled against him by a person who is widely regarded as a member of the Russian mafia, and this was purely charges laid against him in lieu of a personal vendetta against Mr. Morty. But I can confirm that he is back in South Africa, that he currently faces no criminal charges whatsoever in any country abroad, and that he's very happy to be back.
Do you plan to pursue any other legal avenues, given the reasons that were given for detention? Some of the information that we had back here in South Africa was allegations relating to the theft of some diamonds.
The charges leveled against him had absolutely nothing to do with any theft of any diamonds. It related to, as I said, trumped-up charges in lieu of a personal vendetta of a member of the Russian mafia. So, we have attorneys in Germany who act on behalf of Mr. Morty. We also have attorneys in Russia and in the UK. And, we will all make an informed decision as to whether he's going to pursue any future civil action against the relevant authorities, but at this point in time, he's made no decision pertaining to that yet. And as I said, he's happy to be back in South Africa, and it's business as usual for him.
Yeah, just very quickly, Ulrich. Look, it clearly seems the information that we received in South Africa is not correct. What charges was Mr. Morty facing? You speak about trumped-up charges. What charges were these?
It was a charge related to alleged fraud committed in Russia, and the value related to an amount of $100,000. So it had absolutely nothing to do with any other diamond transactions, as was incorrectly reported in South Africa.
All right, thank you very much for time. That's where we'll have to leave it. Ulrich Roux, a criminal law expert, speaking to us on a number of issues, including what's expected tomorrow. The National Prosecuting Authority expected to provisionally withdraw corruption charges against the son of former President Jacob Zuma. Let's take a short break here on The Full View. More when we get back.